Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. It's Monday, June 3rd. Man, half the year is just about gone. I mean, it's nuts. It just seemed like it was just day before yesterday when we were in January. Golly, time flies for me now. I don't know about you, but it sure does for me. We'll be in Mountain View this coming Thursday through Sunday, well, Saturday really, because I leave early Sunday morning. But anyway, if you're interested in going down there at the last minute, send me an email and I'll get with you before I leave and give you my text number where you can find me down there. Last Friday on the vlog, I told, those of you who are paying attention, you'll remember I said, Friday morning there was no dew, so I was expecting rain. Well, boy, howdy, did we get some rain. We did get a lot of rain, so take a look at this. My friends, it's Saturday morning out here, and if you recall on Friday's vlog, I said we had no dew on Friday morning, so I was expecting rain because anytime you don't have dew, you're pretty much going to get rain. And it rained a lot yesterday, and look at what the water wheel's doing. It's hauling. Look at that thing. Look how much water's going down the flume. The flume is about a third of the way full, where normally it's just barely the bottom. So the flume can handle quite a bit more water yet, but you can see how the water's coming in here too. Quite a bit of water coming in there today. Pretty amazing. But if you start paying attention to the dew, if there's no dew, you can pretty much bet you're going to get rain. That's pretty much a fact. That thing is hauling. It's got some torque there now. There's no way you can hold that by hand right now. And we're expecting more rain today, and I think more rain tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. Sue's talking about that. I never pay attention to it, but she was talking about it. I think she said tomorrow. Might have been Thursday. I don't remember what she said. I'm going to be honest with you. But anyway, she said there's a lot more rain coming, it sounds like. The Friday, I also said I was going to put that Mohawk retarder out on, my products I use page. Well, it turns out it wasn't on Amazon. So in today's vlog, I put two links to different products. The first link to the Mohawk retarder is the exact product that I buy. And it's in a gallon can, and you'll never use that much unless you just refinish instruments every single day, or unless you finish instruments every day. You'll never use a gallon of it. But that's how I bought it. I bought it as a gallon because it was worth it to me, and I could never find it any other way. Well, apparently there's a smaller quantity. It says pretty much the same thing on Mohawk's website, and so I put a link to it also, but I have to tell you, you're buying that one at your own, discretion. It kind of says the same thing, so I don't know. Both of them say super blush retarder. The other one has the smaller quantity has a little bit of different wording on it. So you'll just have to look at both of them and decide if you want to go that route. It probably wouldn't hurt to try it because it's a lot cheaper. But because it's a much smaller quantity, and that small quantity, quite honestly, would last most of us a long, long time. So anyway, hopefully that would work too. So anyway, those are links in the description, so check that out when you get time. I got a thank you card from the Six String Heroes, and the card came to me, of course, but it had the contributors' names on the back here. It's got Dottie, Charles, Robert, Randall, John, Diane, Robert H., and of course myself. And they have a happy face on there, a smiley face, and it just says, "Dear Jerry, flat out blown away by your donation, and they have a smiley face again. I often tell people any donation is like throwing a pebble in a lake, then ripples of good spread out forever. You tossed in a cinder block. And then again, another little smiley face. So much good and healing will come of it. Much respect, Kevin Sullivan. And it just, on the front of the card, it says, 6-string heroes healing wounded veterans one guitar at a time. Well, I'm glad we could help, and thank you all for your donations on that as well. Let's see. The next thing is I had a little time Saturday evening, and I only spent about an hour, but I went metal detecting. And I have a what is it for you. And I'll tell you right up front, this picture is a little bit distorting. It's not wider at the top. That thing on the left there that you see, I dug that out of the ground. It's not wider at the top. It's the camera angle. It's the same size all the way up and down. In fact, here it is right here. And you can see it. So that gives you a better idea of the shape. I just wanted you to have a close-up of it there. You can see it's thin across here. It's got these 2 pegs. Now, when I first found it, instantly I thought, well, it's some kind of a tractor hitch pin or something, linch pin, whatever you want to call it. People call them different things. But then when the very first, because my grandson taught me how to search better with images, I used the Google image search. And one of the first things that popped up was Civil War things, and I didn't see anything that looked like that from the Civil War, quite honestly. That picture that you see in the center there of that hub is a Civil War cannon. It's like a spare tire for a Civil War cannon, and that pin holds that tire on apparently, and it's got a similar type shape, but I'm just talking. I'm not jumping to the conclusion that this is Civil War. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying it would be cool if you could find something that matched it as Civil War. That would be really cool. And going back to the big camera here, I wanted to show you the what you can't see, and it just doesn't show up, is the sparkles. It in light in here. Anywhere you're looking at this thing, it's got little tiny, there it showed up a little bit right on this edge. If you look it's on that edge. If you look on the edges, see the little sparkles as I turn it? Yeah, you can see them there, I think. Well, anyway, it's like a little fine silica. It just indicates, and keep in mind, I've washed this thing 3 or 4 times with scrub brushes and everything. And, those sparkles are still embedded in that. I think, and that's like silica sand or something, I think it's been in the ground a very long time. That's the one reason that makes me think maybe it is as old as Civil War. And if not, it's at least probably dates back in the, 1800s anyway. So I was just curious if anybody had ever seen anything like that they could go, oh yeah, I know what that is. But, I've seen things like it, of course, but I just can't lay my finger on what I think it is for sure. But it'd really be cool if I could tie it to the Civil War. That would, everything. I'm trying to tie everything to the Civil War these days, but it would be pretty cool. Anyway, it's heavy too. Of course, it's solid steel. It's really heavy. I'd say that's a good pound easily, maybe 1.25 pounds. It's pretty heavy. I don't know if it's that much. It feels like it would be that much. I didn't weigh it. Let's see here. Trini and Leighton are still here, of course, my grandsons. I took them fly fishing at the back pond again. This is our second time back there fly fishing. Now, I haven't fly fished in years. Quite honestly, it really haven't fly fished since just after we bought the farm. I went down to the river down here fly fishing a lot right after we bought this place. And that was before the otters got in there and killed all the fish. And I was catching 2-pound smallmouth on the fly rod left and right, and lots of other small fish, game fish, I don't know, pumpkin seeds, which are basically a type of sunfish, and goggle eye, and you pretty much name it. If it was in that river, I was catching them on a fly rod. Caught them like crazy, just left and right. And in this front pond, I used to catch them left and right with a fly rod back then. But like I said, it's been like 20 years. Well, I took them back there to that back pond. Now, those fish back there seem to be very easy to catch back in that back pond. Not a single nibble, not a single strike, not one, not at all. Both times we've gone back there with fly rods. Now, usually, my experience has always been when I was young, I used to fish with a fly rod a lot. And my experience was when you can't catch them on anything else, you throw a fly rod out there and you're going to catch them. And don't even get a strike back there. It's the oddest thing. And I was wanting, Trent to have a fun experience with that because, he's just learning to use a fly rod. And wouldn't you know, it's just that Rosa luck thing. I'm telling you, it's just nuts. Because I have never experienced that with a fly rod. Usually you go back there, you can throw anything with a fly rod almost, and you'll get something, nothing. Not even a strike. Not one single strike for either of us. And we fished quite a while. Crazy. Just crazy. And then Trinian and, Sue is those boys' best friend. There's no doubt about that. She spends so much time with them and just does anything and everything they want to do. Well, Trinian wanted to drive the dump truck. I'm thinking, there's no way he could drive that dump truck. I can barely drive that dump truck. Well, Sue took Trinian in the dump truck, and probably Leighton was along too, I'm assuming, and they drove all the way down to the gravel quarry, which is about 2 miles away from here on our county road. It's a defunct gravel quarry. It's closed up for the most part. Anyway, she turned around there and then let Trin drive the dump truck all the way back. And apparently he did okay. Now, that thing's a stick shift, and a clutch and the whole bit. And she said he did really good. So he got it all the way up into third gear at one point. I'm thinking, wow. I wasn't there on that one, but I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, he's 10, Now, I've told you before, and some of you probably doubt it, but it's the truth. I started driving tractors on the road when I was 10 years old by myself. Now, I didn't do it very much when I was 10, but by the time I was 12, I was driving it to the hardware store. So I was really driving tractors on the road a lot by the time I was 12. But I kind of take for granted that kids these days can't do those kinds of things. It's more like they don't get the opportunity. It's not that they can't. It's that people don't put it on them, And but apparently Trinian did pretty good driving that big old dump truck. It's not that big. It's just a 1-ton F350. It's a 1957, I think it is, 1957 F350 1-ton dump truck, and it rides like a brick. I mean, it's the stiffest suspension. You just go down the road like this the whole time, Nose is itching. People are talking about me, I guess. The mini bike, I was going to put that together Saturday morning, and the wrong parts came in for that. And so turns out that those parts come from Chesterfield, Missouri. Well, my daughter Lisa lives up there in Eureka, so that's not too terribly far. So she's running over there to exchange the parts this morning, and hopefully by this evening, maybe I'll have the right parts. Hopefully. I've been getting a lot of products lately, and there's another one right there on the floor. Can you see? It's kind of black. You can't hardly see it, but the word Creality is right there. And it's up on its edge. It's a hollow box, basically. And that's a covering for a laser cutter from Creality. Creality is the 3D printing company. They have all those 3D printers. Well, apparently they have a laser cutter also. And they're sending me a laser cutter, and I thought I had the whole thing. But when I put this together, it's just the cover. I didn't get the laser part of it. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any table with it or anything else. I don't know how it's going to come, the rest of it. But hopefully there's another box coming on that. I'll have to get a hold of them and let them know that all I got was the cover so far, which won't do me much good unless I go outside. I could use it as an umbrella. Let's see. Okay, that brings us down to the smells. Why did I bring this up? I don't know. Just something stupid to talk about, I guess. Some of you probably already think you know what my worst one's going to be. It's going to be, you'll probably say it's something like hide glue or something like vegetables or something. And at least one of those made the list, but you're not going to believe what it is. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you, but it's dog crap. I can't stand the smell of dog mess. Oh my gosh. It sends me through the freaking roof. I would just as soon fall in an outhouse as to have to smell dog crap. So that's the first one. The second one is anything dead and rotting. Oh, I can't stand it. But the third one, believe it or not, and I'm not just saying this for effect, the third one is cooking vegetables. Can't stand to be in the house when vegetables are cooked. Can you believe that? Dog mess, rotted flesh, and then cooking food is the third one. And I can't stand it. I hate the smell of that stuff. And believe it or not, the fourth one, I don't mind this near as bad as the smell of cooking vegetables is a skunk. Skunk is not near as bad as those first three, in my opinion. I don't like the smell of a skunk, but it's not. We've already gone down several levels when we get to a skunk for me. And then, believe it or not, the next one, number 5, is the smell of fish. I don't like fish smell, and that's what people would often ask me, do you ever use fish glue? Do you ever use fish glue? And I never wanted to because of the smell, and I didn't know if it really smelled like fish or not, but a guy was using it on a YouTube video that I was watching yesterday, and he said, man, this stuff smells like fish. And I thought, gee whiz, I'm glad I never tried it, because I just assumed it would smell like fish, and it does, apparently. And that's the reason I've never bothered with fish glue. Not that it's probably a great glue. Okay, number 6 would be like body odors, bad breath, and things that go along with that. I'll just leave that to your imagination. But bad. Musky and moldy smells would be after that. And then I'll tell you another thing, like a lot of people say gasoline, they like the smell of it. Well, when I was younger, I did kind of like the smell of gasoline a little bit, just a whiff of it. I don't like it very much. And I was kind of like that too. But now I can't stand it when it gets on my hands and on my clothes and stuff. It drives me nuts. I hate it. And propane would be another one that's number 9. And then finally, the number 10 for me would be solvents, lacquers, acetone, things like that. And really, I would put CA glue in there with those solvents probably, but CA glue, it's not the smell of it, it's the strength of it. It's so strong, it just burns my eyes and burns my nose, and it's the strength of it, not so much the smell itself. If I just get a whiff of it, it's not that big a deal, but boy, you get a lot of that stuff and it'll about knock you down. But you probably didn't expect the number 1, did you? That's seriously, and you know where that comes from? I'm sure it comes from my childhood, because, my dad had so many beagles all the time, and I was always having to go in and clean the dog pens. And then after I got a little bit older than that, well, I was still cleaning dog pens, but then I'd have to cut all the dog kennels that we would, he had all those lawn customers, and all of them had big dogs out there and had a kennel in their backyard. These were rich people mostly, and they'd have a, nice pinned in, yard or whatever, and just dog mess everywhere. And it's absolutely the worst for me. I can't stand it at all. That's one of the reasons I'm just not real big on dogs. Anyway, there you go. Airing the dirty laundry here this morning. John Pepper was number 1 on the list here, according to my list anyway. David Tharp was there, and then Rod Wentler, Eddie Turner, all the regulars, and then Tom Armstrong. Dottie said she couldn't stay around. She's got a doctor's appointment. Well, God bless you, Dottie. I hope everything goes well. Praying for you. Um, she's praying for us, of course. Then Tom's praying for Dottie there. Let's see. What else? Moving on down, looking for question marks primarily. Joe Knoll, good morning to everyone. Light rain on my garden this morning. Thank you, Father. Yes, and we've been getting good rain so far this year. I'm tickled with that because some years it dries up right after, April or whatever. So we're doing pretty good right now. Like I said several times, last year we got quite a bit of rain through the whole year. But it was just a sprinkle here, a sprinkle there, just barely enough to dust the ground, Rained a bunch of times, but just hardly enough to do anything at all. So it was really, because of that, it was really pretty dry here. David Tharp, remember when one door closes, another door opens. Other than that, it's a pretty good car. Yeah. I've had cars like that. You slam one door and something, or I've made things like that where you slam one door and something else opens. Bill Rhodes, good morning, everybody. And let's see, Zappa. Jerry, for some reason there are 89 comments showing under your video from a GT's performance video from 4 weeks ago. Well, I don't know what you mean by that, so okay. I'll just take your word for it. But I don't know what that means exactly. You're talking about under today's video, under this video right now? Because I don't see them. If they're there, I don't know. After we went live, looks like Walt Willard was number one, looking for question marks. And then David Tharp says, my wife says that I never pay attention to her or something like that. Guilty. Guilty. I have to admit, I'm guilty. There's no question. Kim Williford, you can get the rust off with Coca-Cola. Show us after you get the rust off. You talking about this thing? I probably am not going to take the rust off of it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I typically, right now at least, because of these things are going to be put on display, or at least, that's kind of my plan, especially the Civil War stuff. Now, of course, I don't know that that's Civil War yet. In fact, I doubt it is, but on the other hand, I think that's been in the ground a very long time. It was fairly deep. It was 6-8 inches down, something like that. Yeah, I've heard Coca-Cola does that though. But there's a lot of things that take rust off. There's Evaporust. There's a lot of different products out there that does that. You can do electrolysis on it also. And if I was going to do it, probably that's the way I would do it, would be electrolysis. But I'll probably leave it like it is, honestly. Tom Armstrong, metal detector fine. My dad had something similar that when he backed the tractor up to the wagon would drop that into the tongue. Yeah, that's what I was talking about, calling it a hitch pin. But this is kind of short. That's my one hesitation. Most hitch pins are that long. They stick down probably 2 inches longer than this. That would be your average hitch pin. How do I know this? Because I've used a gazillion of them in my life. In fact, I got a gazillion of them down there in the shop. Most of them are this long. They really are. They're more like 6 inches long. This is more like 3 inches long, 3.5 inches long at the most. So it's a short hitch pin. See, my idea is that this locks into something, and because this is a handle to twist it. That's what that's for. So this drops down into something it drops down into a hole, and the hole has 2 grooves on the side. This drops down in those grooves, then you turn it to lock it. That's what this is. That's why it made me think maybe it isn't tractor, because most tractor stuff, you don't do that for the most part. I'm not saying you never did that, Just saying you don't do that normally. That's not the norm. But something military, Civil War-ish, wouldn't surprise me at all if that wasn't what they did. Yeah, I don't know. Just talking out loud. Have no clue what it is. But yeah, you're right, Tom. That's exactly what I thought it was when I found it. I thought, well, it's some kind of a tractor hitch pin, but that's really not a good example of a tractor hitch pin. So I don't know what it is for sure. I just kind of like that gear. I've got this inkling in my head. I kind of know about this stuff, because I've been around most of this stuff my whole life. I really have. My dad grew up that way, and, he had all that kind of stuff, and, I've been around it most of my life. Bruce Moore, good morning, Jerry. I've watched your blogs for a long time and have learned so much about the repair and setup. I also learned to play mandolin somewhat thanks to you. Live in Canton, North Carolina. Well, Bruce, I'm super glad to hear that. I was thinking about, and I don't know if I'll do this or not, or if it makes sense to do this. Would you guys want me to do something like short mandolin lessons each vlog morning and maybe just build on it? I don't know. I'll just throw that out there. We could try something like that if you want to. I can't do guitar lessons. I'm not good enough on a guitar to do guitar lessons. I mean, I understand the national number system on the guitar, but, I'm not good enough on a guitar to give guitar lessons. I can give mandolin lessons and also kind of teach you about music in general from the mandolin, and the national number system a little bit too. But if you're interested in something like that, speak up. I don't want to bore everybody with it if only one person's interested. You know what I'm saying? Dirk Tinhoff is the username. He's got, hello. Wish all you do is guitar repairs. Ha ha ha. Love you. Well, I wish I was doing guitar repairs more often too, but everything has to come to an end, and I did it for 40 years, and it's time to catch up on other things. Bruce Moore, Canton known as Papertown, hometown of Balsam Range, the bluegrass group. Oh, okay. Okay. I definitely know Balsam Range. I've got several of their albums. I might be getting them confused with somebody else. I might be. But there's a song they've got about, I don't know the title of it. I think it's got an unusual title, but it's something about a hanging tree. It's kind of a gruesome song in a way, and then it's kind of, I don't know. It's an interesting song. Let's just say it that way. It's got more to it than you would think. Larry Fisher, the smell of cooking cabbage. Yuck. Yeah, I absolutely hate it. That's my number 3. I was actually going to put that as my number 2. And then I got to thinking, well, dead rotting flesh. I got to admit, I think I'd rather smell cabbage than dead rotting flesh, but just barely. I mean, like those two were like this. I was teetering on whether to put which one first. That's how bad I think smelling cooking vegetables, especially cabbage and then like, garlic and just can't stand it. Just can't stand it. Let's see. Rod Wintler, does WD-40 make your list? WD-40 make your list for smell? No, not really. Not really. I think WD-40, it's just kind of bland. Well, not bland, but, I don't find it offensive, really. Zappa, if you open a bottle of real lemon, you will find a smell like a skunk. Huh. I'll be darned. Smells like skunk, huh? Okay. Well, learn something new every day. Clyde Price, I don't find the smell of skunk too bad, actually. Yeah, it's definitely not the first. It's like number 4. I mean, it's pretty strong. It's mostly because it's so strong. If it wasn't so terribly strong, it wouldn't bother me as much. In fact, like I said, it doesn't bother me all that much compared to those other things. Those top 3 are way up here. The next 7 there's kind of a gap between them. That's the truth. That's the way I feel about it. It's like there should be 2 or 3 more numbers between the smell of cooking green vegetables and a skunk. Because to me, a skunk's not nearly as offensive. Some people probably think I'm just making this stuff up, but that's the way I feel about it. It stinks so bad. I don't see how anybody can put that stuff in their mouth. I just don't see how it's possible. Let's see. Freeze says, I can't smell stand the smell of perfume made out of flowers, monster drinks, and raw onions. Yeah, raw onions. Yeah. I can't, I like flowers a lot. Monster drinks, I don't really know anything about those, to be honest. I've heard about them, and I know what they are, but I've never really been around one, so I don't have any comment on those. Trevor says yes to mandolin lessons. Sure says, I love the lesson idea. Kim Williford, I would love it. Please do so. Ronald Todd, most hitch pins are not that big diameter and longer. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Most of them aren't quite this big diameter, and they are longer. Some are this diameter, though. It depends on the horsepower of the tractor and what you're pulling. They have different classes, in fact, of different pins and things. This is, I don't know, I don't remember my class numbers, 1, 2, and 3 for all I can remember right now, but I don't remember which class is bigger, to be honest with you. But they do have different classes of pin size, and this is in the heavier size. It's not the heaviest I've seen, but it's the heavier size. And yeah, like you said, it's generally longer because, often you drop a hitch pin just in and you don't do anything else to it. Some of them have a cross pin that you put through or something that flips across. This one, it's done differently in that the lock on this, because it's so short, the lock is here. That's what the lock is. So you drop it down in those slots and then turn it, and then it would be locked in. So I'm just really curious. I would love to know what that goes to. It's another one of those deals that's going to drive me nuts because it's not your norm. It's not your norm. I can tell you that for sure because I know what the norm is. I've seen the norm. Okay, moving on down. Let's see. Shiny Cage. Jerry, do you ever GPS your detector finds on a map, log them? I thought about doing that. It's just the hassle factor. I just haven't done that, no. But, in my own mind, I kind of know where all of them are. They're all pretty much in the same general area, really. There's 2 or 3 general areas. And, I kind of know where they're all found. But it wouldn't be a bad idea. And you're right. You can kind of get a sense of something. If I had it all mapped, it would have been a smart thing to do, really. Bill Webb, have you seen the YouTube videos on the tone bar that replaces the bridge pins? I'm not sold on it, but yeah, well, no, I don't know that I have, Bill. I kind of think I've heard about it. I don't really know. I've heard of it. That's best I can tell you. But most stuff like that to me is just gimmicky. I mean, all the stuff that's been working for hundreds of years, it works good, and I don't see any point in changing it for the most part. It's not that I'm against change. I mean, I'm the first one on board with new technology if it makes sense, but it's got to make sense. It's got to be real good common sense, and then I'm the first one to adopt it. Chip Wood, it's a horizontal turret pin for a bigger artillery piece. Really interested in the lessons. It's a horizontal turret pin for a bigger artillery piece. That's pretty darn specific, buddy. I got to look this up, see if I can find something that looks like that. I think you're making it up, actually. I really think you're making it up. Horizontal turret pin. Okay. Wouldn't you laugh if I look that up and find it? Interested in the mandolin lessons. Okay. Uh, all right. Moving on down. John Pepper. Yes, I would like the mandolin lessons. Okay. Ben Boyd. If you do mandolin lessons, maybe do the regular vlog at first, then transition to the lessons. That way, those that aren't interested in the lessons will still tune in for the regular vlog. Okie dokie. That's a good idea. Smelling a skunk and getting sprayed by a skunk are so different. Yeah, I've never been sprayed. I've been around them where they have sprayed and, in the vicinity when they spray, but I've never been sprayed upon. So, yeah. And I have had lots of dogs sprayed by them, too. Bruce Moore, Jerry, I would love for you to have the mandolin lessons in your vlogs. Okay, well, there you go. Well, it's sounding pretty encouraging so far. Tom Armstrong used cuttlefish in the jewelry industry many years ago. It scrolled on me. Years ago to solder on was a terrible smell. I'll be darned. Jerry, I recently put out tutorials for thumb picking guitar on my channel. Okay, well, cool. So there you go, guys. Check out David Tharp on YouTube. The freeze hitch pins usually each hole in the top with a ring. Yeah, a lot of them do have a ring. A lot of them just have a larger end too. In fact, yeah, you can find them both ways, and you can find an equal number of them both ways. But there's a lot of them that just have a larger top, or sometimes they just have a longer version of this across too. I've seen them a lot of different ways on hitch pins. And so goes on to say, that pin seems like it could have had a spring loaded under it. That's a possibility for sure. That is a possibility. Because of the way that it goes down in a slot and then turns and locks, it definitely could have had a spring under it. So that's a good point. But I've looked several times with the images, and I really haven't found anything that matches it so far. Carolyn Fike, Jerry, what if that hitch pin is related to the silver mining done on your property? Well, that's a possibility too. I mean, it's a possibility for sure. It is a possibility. Let's see, Bill Webb. When I was with the PD, I was always told as a rookie that you will never forget the smell of week-old dead human. Yeah, I don't doubt that. It's got to be horrible. Fortunately have been spared that one. 18 years later, I found out it was true. Yeah. We found my dad. He had been there for a day or so, and that wasn't pleasant, but nothing like what you could get into for sure. Yeah, that would be horrible. John Warren. Mando lessons would be good, but if you wouldn't mind including a tutorial on how to read tabs. Well, see, I can't read tabs, and I never have. And really, I mean, I shouldn't say I never did. I tried a long time ago and did one song maybe that way a little bit, but then I'm just not good on tab. Yeah, and the strumming, well, we will definitely cover that type of thing because that's very, 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 very important. It's that's timing, for the most part, and timing is, there's nothing more important than timing. Bill Webb, Zappa, yes, I noticed that also. can't find them on eBay or for sale anywhere. I may try and make my own just to see. Okay. Huh. Guess they were talking to each other about something. Any Itchy Boots news? I haven't heard any. I saw her follow-up video after the surgery, I guess. That's the last thing I saw. Do I have an opinion on the fretboard that is called Rich Light made of paper and wood? No. If it's a man-made material, I've seen other material, not that specific thing, but I've seen other things made out of paper and wood that seem to be pretty durable. So, it's probably okay. I mean, it's not, it's more the fact that does it hold up? Does it hold up to the frets themselves, and locking them in place, and can you refret it and that kind of thing? If it holds up like that, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because that's not really where your sound's coming from, I mean, it's just more of a just a mechanical thing in a way, the fretboard is. Of course, I mean, obviously that's what also makes your notes and all that, but I'm assuming that the slots would be cut properly, so that wouldn't have any effect on that either. So I don't know. I don't know anything about it specifically, though, as far as fretboards. Michael Newman says mandolin lessons. Robert Ganser says yes to the mandolin lessons. Okay, well, maybe, I'm going to have to start really, really super basic, and it might bore some of you to death, but I kind of feel like that's where we have to start, because you never know where everybody's at, Carolyn Fike, and not only that, but even in some of the very, very basic stuff, that's where habits are formed, and, I want to probably cover that kind of thing. Like habits, because habits are hard to break. And you may already have a habit that you don't even realize that if you could break that habit, it would change how you're doing whatever you're doing, that kind of thing. Not that I'm perfect. Shoot, I'm way far from that. But I've been around a lot of people learning and teaching a lot of people, Carolyn Fike, you've never smell a skunk until gets blasted in the crawl space under your shack. My stupid dad did that when our dogs had treed one there. Had to move out for a week. Yeah. Well, we get them here right around the house all the time, and you can smell them in the house because the dogs get after them right outside, chasing them around the house and that kind of thing. Oh, it's bad. It is bad. It's just such a strong odor. If it wasn't so strong, it wouldn't bother me so much. It's that strong is what bothers me on the skunk thing. It's kind of like the CA glue. The smell of the CA glue itself doesn't bother me so much. It's the strength of it. It's so strong. It just nails you. Larry Fisher, does tomato juice work to kill skunk smell? Yeah, well, I've heard that, and I think Sue's done that, on some of the dogs, me and dogs, if they get stung by a skunk, they're just on their own. That's the way I look at it. Carolyn Fike, some of you may think that's cruel, but that's pretty much the way I look at it. That's what's weird, too, is dogs don't much care. It's the human side of you that thinks that they care. What's odd to me is that dogs can smell anything. I mean, they can smell, how they do. They can smell drugs in airports. They can trail a person, like a bloodhound can trail a person that's on a 3-day-old track and trail that person up. Now, that's a sensitive nose. Super, 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 super sensitive. Way beyond anything we can even understand as a human. Way beyond that. And yet they'll find something dead and roll in it that just stinks to high heaven, and they don't care. It doesn't bother them at all. They like it. So it's just a different kind of a smell thing with a dog. It's people put their own values on dogs, but they don't have those same values. You just think they do. David Thorpe says, absolutely yes to the mandolin lessons. Okay. Larry Fisher, my uncle ran a Holstein dairy. The milk tank, oh, I can imagine how bad that could smell. Had a sign on the back that said, all we have, we owe to udders. Yeah, but spoiled milk, that would be another one that'd be on my list there somewhere. It'd be toward the bottom, but that's a bad smell too. Just, I do not like that smell. Like buttermilk, I don't like that smell either. Now that I think about it, that might actually go above the solvents for me. I really don't like that smell. Kim Williford, thick cigar smoke. Yeah, I started to put cigarette smoke, like somebody that really smokes a lot, they can reek of it, and that's a pretty bad smell too. But I kind of let that just be part of the bad breath, body odor thing, and all the other smells that come along with people, So, yeah, it's not a good smell. I agree with you. So I had that. I'm going to say I grouped that in with my number 6 is probably where I'm going to put that one, because it's a human thing for the most part. I mean, tobacco's tobacco. It's not human, but you know what I'm saying. It's because of humans that you have that. I was referring to the Tone Bar. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard of that, about the Tone Bar. Well, maybe I'm missing your point. I don't know. I for one thing, I hardly ever look up any of those or watch any of those videos that have any of that new technology stuff like that. It just doesn't interest me. I don't know why. It just doesn't. So I'm probably the last one to ask about stuff like that. Let's see. David Tharp, do you call a cow that doesn't give milk an utter failure or a milk dud? I like milk dud, I think. Yeah, like I said, I wrote that song, Utter Destruction. Anyway, guys, that's probably going to be it for today. It looks like the mandolin lesson thing would be a good idea. I don't know if I'll start that this week even, just because this week's going to be a short week for me because we're leaving Thursday. But I'll start thinking about it, gearing up for it, and maybe next week we could get that started for real, and then we'll tag it on the end of the vlogs like somebody suggested. That way, you can hang around for it if you want or not. Now, I don't know how does that fit in with comments. Should we, I don't know. Should we think about that too? Whether we should deal with comments before that or after that or during or both. I don't know. Larry Fisher, here in central Kansas, lots of feedlots. So, maybe I didn't read that very well. It says central Kansas, lots of feedlots. So we have trucks that run around called dead cow taxi wheels. Oh, yeah, well, dead animals in general. That's bad smell, man. I'm sitting here having second thoughts, and maybe the mandolin lessons ought to be separate from the vlog even, just because of the comments and all that kind of thing, and these vlogs get kind of long anyway. Let me do some thinking on it. We'll figure out something. I don't know what we'll do yet, but we'll do some thinking on it. All right, well, guys, that's going to be it for right now. We will see you tomorrow with something else. Thank you so much for being here.